Continuing our video series covering the Ultibox Norway Chess Blitz tournament. We move on to round 5 with Sergey Karjakin taking on the world champ with the white pieces, and that was the funniest moment of perhaps the entire Norway Chess event. Pretty funny stuff there. The rumor is that Vladimir Kramnik, who you just saw there laughing, shook up the water bottle before Carlsen came to the table. First of all, that's just awesome, and why can't we have more crazy pranks like that? Secondly, it was good that Magnus took it in stride and didn't stress about it. Taking the time to wipe things down, I guess FIDE's not going to punish him here for starting his game a little late, given that Vladimir Kramnik was kind of the cause of that. But either way, they do eventually shake hands. Magnus starts the clock, and we are off, ladies and gentlemen. D4 was played. Magnus takes his time to adjust his pieces. Not the same opening that we saw them play so many times at their World Championship. Not going to be a Rui Lopez. And Carlsen plays the Dutch. Obviously, Karjakin's going to play my personal favorite E4, the Staunton Gambit. Come on. No, he plays G3 like a good Russian schoolboy. Quickly, we get Knight F6, Bishop G2, and E6. Magnus preparing to head into the Stonewall, playing E6 rather than G6, which would be a Leningrad Dutch. After C4 is played, Magnus quickly plays D5. Knight to D2, all things are standard. The bishop comes to D6, developing behind this strong pawn structure, and Sergey plays the first slightly unexpected development, the knight coming to H3 rather than F3. Both sides Rekharovka. Magnus brings out the knight to C6, and the game is on. This is pretty typical. The knight on C6 is really not that misplaced. Normally you think of not blocking the C-pawn, but this bishop is going to find a home over here, and this knight sometimes relocates to E7 or even A5. So if you're thinking that's a little bit weird, it's not that weird. E3, we get B6 quickly by Magnus, playing very fast in round 5 here. And Sergey plays B3 himself. The queenside expansion is key because it'll make the bishop on A6 that much more comfortable, right? Not open to any threats on the file. But all things being equal, the truth is these structures do tend to favor white. As you can see, the engine tends to like white in these positions, just a slight edge, mainly because the potential weaknesses on the light squares. This bishop is a very, very good piece and should create some nice tactics for white on the diagonal. That's the kind of thing that Sergey was looking for in the game, and even though there were some critical moments we'll get to, it should be noted as an instructive aspect for everybody at home, just how much you need to be aware of potential tactics on this diagonal. Magnus plays Bishop A6, aware of the tactics himself, but feeling like he can risk it. No immediate pressure coming to the D5 pawn, given that this knight can't develop to C3. Sergey brings the knight into F4. Very, very natural move. Get the knight off of the edge of the board. Poke at a weak E6 pawn with tempo. Pretty much living the dream here is Sergey Karjakin, and in a nice, comfortable chair to go with it. Magnus has to part with the bishop pair, but the key is that he immediately inserts the knight into E4 to follow it up. This is important because normally this is a huge sin. To open the E file here, create potential for that rook to have a ton of nice open squares. And again, if this E6 pawn becomes a main feature of the position, it's going to be better for white than black because that's not a very healthy E6 pawn. But Magnus is able to put the knight on E4, and then what you're going to see over the next few moves with Sergey playing rook E1 is the critical decision is surrounding right here, right now, with how to deal with this knight. We know this pawn is weak. We know we want to open this diagonal. Do we trade? Do we play F3 to kind of kick the knight and then try to gang up on the pawn? Sergey plays the move rook E3, but I'm going to pause here and show you that probably this is where he missed his one chance to really convert on the edge. As the engine is saying, he should have taken on E4. And after F takes comes a key idea, key tactical idea, F3. Just give up the C4 pawn and open up this bishop on this diagonal with reckless abandonment. Some example of tactics that might occur is after C takes B3, white can even play the move E5. But even just taking back on B3, we see an awesome center here, a very, very dangerous bishop, and a position that white is, I think, much more comfortable playing for an edge, avoiding all the tactics that Magnus was able to generate in the game. Sergey played rook E3, and then Magnus played queen to D7. And I think Sergey played rook E3 with the thought that he could still play F3 and keep that rook open. But after queen to D7, guarding the knight, he kind of realized maybe he needed to trade here, maybe wishes he even did it the move before, and succumbs to playing it now. As you can see, he just captured on E4, and Magnus immediately captured back. this whole idea of playing f3, while still the positional, just sort of the move that all strong chess players know playing against the Dutch, because you want to pry open the light squares, you want to get this bishop in the game, you want to get access to that king on g8. It's key that he knows this is the idea, and so he plays f3 anyway. But the big difference, just that single tempo he lost, allows Magnus to go for these same lines with dc4, takes e4, and now Magnus takes on b3, as you saw he just played. And the difference is that already, right here, right now, the edge is slipping. It's slipping for white big time, because this d4 pawn is going to become a target in a way that it wasn't before. One, because with the queen on d8, there were no chances for a move like rook a to d8. Number two, with the queen on d7, she actually guards the knight, again, making white's tactics a little bit less powerful. So Sergey is sort of put on the spot here in terms of how to approach the current position. He can take on b3 with 3 pieces, right? I mean, you've got the rook, the queen, and the pawn. There's also moves to consider like d5. But in the end, he actually goes for d5. That's right. Probably safer was to take on b3, but he goes for d5, hoping to generate controversy that opens up this bishop, and again would create some tactics. But after captures and now takes b3, taking advantage of the pin, that critical tempo, again, that he lost just by playing rook e3 and not having the rook on e1, having played knight e4 and f3 earlier, as I highlighted, is going to make a big difference in 2 ways. One, he's down a move because the queen is here, and 2, the rook is going to constantly come under fire here. Magnus, to point out all those things I'm saying, finds a great idea to take advantage of that by sacrificing this a4 pawn, and immediately following that move with a super, I guess, sneaky discovered attack, you might describe it, as he slides this bishop over to f1, unleashing the rook on a8 to get a discovered attack on the queen. And really, the key point is, regardless of where that queen goes, the elimination of this bishop on g2 is kind of where the gloves will always come off for white in these Dutch positions. Magnus plays knight a5, a super nice tactic, bringing the knight into c4 and exposing the fact that, as I said, the rook on e3 is undefended, something it would not be if it was still on e1. So in hindsight, again, as we wait here for Sergey to move, he eventually plays rook to c3, even rook to d3. Would fail to tactics with knight to c4. You can check it out, but I actually analyzed some lines with rook takes e4, rook takes d5, and queen to c6 that also would have been pretty hard for Sergey. So rook to d3 was really not that much better. He plays rook c3, Magnus plays d4, and after e5, he finds a super creative way, again, to expose not only that he's eliminated white's light square bishop, but that this king is on an open diagonal. Rook takes c4 would simply not be possible, everybody, winning on the spot. Is it fair to say Sergey missed this move, knight c4? Probably, but the truth is this position is already coming undone. Having to slide the rook over for protection and to block the diagonal gives black the time to re-support that pawn on d4. Quick moves are made as white is trying to defend things, but Magnus is already in super aggressive mode. If you have to put your king on h3 and there's rooks coming into the game, you know you got problems. And here Magnus shows exactly that. Rook lifting up, queen to f3, doesn't miss his chance to convert. Surely Sergey's happy. His king didn't get mated, but in order to avoid that, he had to allow this d-pawn to run. The bishop came to e3, d2 was pushed, and after rook d1, the rook came down to d3. Sergey already could have resigned here, but he plays one more attacking move for good measure and simply throws in the towel. He's going to lose the bishop on e3. All things are pinned. So the critical moment, again, just as we did before, to highlight probably for white to have an advantage was back here, where Sergey could have taken on e4 and then played for this f3 tactic immediately before black had that optimal time to coordinate. But the truth is, after that, Magnus put on a display of accuracy that we know he does. Really like this a4 idea, followed by the discovered attack, just from the positional perspective of how important it is to eliminate that light square bishop. And he really never looked back. Tactics are coming in. This knight is feeling super happy. White's pieces are feeling uncoordinated and just out of place. The tactics ensued, and Magnus converted, like we said. Sergey's happy not to get mated, but okay, you're not getting mated anymore with rook h6, but you're going to have to lose a piece because my d-pawn is too strong. So fun stuff to see what happened when these two played. Thank you for checking out this video. Please subscribe to our channel and look for another video coming out this week as we continue to cover Magnus Carlsen's journey at the Altibox Norway Chess Super Blitz Tournament.